Okay, so they've got some.
Okay.
That thing is so creepy. It's like turned around and then slow.
I know.
Over.
Oh, are you talking about the camera?
Cameras. Because I wondered the other day, I was like, why is it?
They didn't know.
I know, that's why I said, I was like, oh, it turns. It's very.
Will fall back.
Not good.
Yeah, he put the tarp first fast. Yeah.
I knew it. That's why I said.
When they do that,
That
redo
redo I was looking.
This is actual. This is a cost.
Like what we had said.
You don't want one. Let's get
But I
back.
think as far as.
And like this,
It's just this.
like they're not supposed to pay that. I got that. So I might just, I see her. Him being. I've read it. Want to know what a brick was they is?
Yes. But then we ended up taking right, but it worked in the trade, so we were just two rows.
Way down.
country farms do it right now.
And so.
That was the classic one that, again, I'll talk about it. I want to look in this guy.
There you go.
The other one was.
Okay, yeah.
Real good. I had to have some surgery on her shoulder a bit. Nice.
Even if it's not over, it's still.
I'll call the meeting to order for August 2022 town council meeting. Have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. No doubt, leadership pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Robert Jones,
I'm here.
Marissa Skaggs,
Here.
Shane Davis here, Jeff Babb,
Here.
Steve Denny.
Here. Approval of our minutes from last meeting. All those that have copies, any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting.
I'll second.
Have a motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Clerk Treasurer's report.
Short and to the point here, as you all see, we spent quite a bit of money last month. Somehow our bills keep coming every month, just like home. And if you look at the month-end reporting, you'll see our general fund is in good shape. I think everything explains itself. Unless somebody has any questions.
No comments or questions? Have a motion to approve the clerk treasurer's report, please. So move.
Second.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a motion to approve clerk treasurer's report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same.
Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. Cool. A few things that to follow up on. As you can tell, our runs, we're down 10 runs from last year, so that was kind of good. We did 57 responses for the month from July 1st to July 31st. 10 of those would be an assisting ambulance, one investigation, 4 fires, 1 field and grass fire. We did 4 water rescues that month. So it was a big month for the water rescue. Just for your information, also on the water rescue, our second boat is now in service. We are the only department in the county that has 2 water rescue boats. We have 12 guys that are trained in swift water. So we assist all the counties, agencies throughout Madison County with our 2 boats that we have. So Anderson has 1 and Chesterfield Union Township has the other one. So when they get a call for a water rescue, we send both of our assets and all of our guys that are available to respond to assist those other agencies with that. So feel very, very blessed and thank all the people that have donated the money for us to be able to purchase that boat, because it's the last one's 20 years old. So it's getting worn out. So it's nice to have a backup in case we need it for an incident that we have. So any questions on the runs that you see before you? Couple other things that this past month, I emailed it to all the members of the council that we received our ISO report back that was done way back at the very beginning of the year. So the ISO is basically it's an insurance services office. It's an organization that actually comes out and inspects the fire department and the town assets that assist the fire department, i.e. water department, make sure the fire hydrants are operable, make sure the water lines are met to standard, as well as they make sure that we as the fire department are doing training. We have the adequate resources. This one was kind of pushed through because of the consolidation with the Ingalls Fire Department. We were a 5 and a 5X as the town of Pendleton Fire Department. The last one was done in 2017. So they come through every 5 to 6 years to do the audit for the fire department. I'm happy to report we didn't change. We are a 5 and 5X with the increase of the area coverage that we actually have. The synopsis of basically a couple of things that they accumulate, there's 105.5 points total per score. So basically what it does is the higher the points that you get, the lower your ISO rating is. So a class 1 is the best that there is, and that makes you have a bigger break on your homeowner's insurance. So we're right in the middle. 10 is the worst, is basically a department or a town entity that has no fire department. And so we're right in the middle with the area that we actually have coverage. So basically some of the items that they actually go on, so there's 10 maximum points for emergency communications. So they evaluate dispatch. So when you dial 911, the clock starts till that person picks up the 911 call. That is a standard time. So they have to meet so many seconds in that. And there's an audit that is for that as well. From the time that they receive the call, enter it in the computer and dispatch us to that incident is also as part of that audit as well. And then us getting out the door to the incident as part of that audit for emergency communications. For the fire department, basically we get credit for engine companies. If we have a reserve apparatus, it's just sitting there in case we have one that breaks down. In which we meet all of that, and the credit for the capacity of our engine. So 1,000 gallons of water, the gallons per minute that the pumps provide is 1,500 gallons a minute. So we got a maximum score on that because all our apparatuses are to the maximum that the ISO sees. Ladder service. So basically, if we had a ladder truck, you get credits for that. You get credits for training. You get credits for going out and doing inspections throughout the community. So those are all things, school types of public safety events, public, education that we do. We started, if the business owners are in the room, we started a program through the National Fire Safety Council. I contacted Connie Ramsey for the National Fire Safety Council. I worked with her really well at Anderson when I was doing the public education there. So you're going to see a new dog costume floating around town. I took it to Chesterfield when they had their public safety day for the National Night Out at Dairy Queen. So it's about $3,000. But what happens is the National Fire Safety Council sends out a flyer to the business owners in the community that we service. And they can pick how many children that they want from a dollar amount that we will provide coloring books, crayons, fire hats and stuff, to where when we go to schools, we have that availability to purchase those and give them to those kids that we come across and stuff. So, we're very blessed here because we go to the church, we go to the fire station, and we go to a lot of the schools and stuff. So starting that program and stuff will also help with the budget going forward, as far as it gives the community a little bit of bite into it as well, so that they're providing for the education for the kids. Another thing is the water supply. So basically what they do as far as the ISO rating goes is they actually come in and they test the water system that we have here in town. The hydrants, they flow the hydrants, they pick fire hydrants, they will go out and they will put a meter on those hydrants and they will flow the water out of them. They will get a list of the hydrants that are actually serviced, if there's out of service, or recorded, because they're supposed to be recorded and tested, and that goes in the part of the ISO. So out of the 105.5 points, we got 56.15. So our score is a 5 and a 5X. And the reason why is there is an X in there is because we service areas that are non-hydrated. They're out into the county. And that is the county portion that's non-hydrated area. So we do have some room for improvement. We're on a fast pace to get things going come the first of the year, to implement a lot of other things as far as to help us improve that score, to make everybody that has a home in this community, their insurance goes down a little bit. So any questions on that? Okay, also a couple other items. I've received a contract. I know Julie Schnepp had talked about the fire department being interested in providing a location for a baby box, a safe haven baby box, and I'm 100% for it. I've emailed the contract to the president and council, Chet Babb, to review. I've also emailed a copy to the legal counsel to review that, so we can get that signed, so we can get that process rolling. I've already picked out the contractor, Zach Berline. He's 100% into getting it done for us to be able to install it in a location that appeases the safe haven baby box folks. So we can get that thing rolling and get that installed here soon. And I know Julie's probably got a lot more information. She's been the spearhead of this project, and it's substantial. I mean, you have to follow what they say. Step one, this is where it goes. Step two, you got to do this. Step three, they got to do this. Elwood just did theirs. The company actually will just drive through, open the box, close it, and see how long it takes the fire department to respond, or the police department to respond at all hours of the night. They do it for 7 days. They don't tell you what 7 days they do it. They'll just drive through at 3 o'clock in the morning and see what's going on, open the door and close it. So it's tested very stringent on everything. So it's something that I think that the community should be proud of to have. I know Elwood was the first one. I know Edgewood's looking to get one. And then if we get ours, so it makes one north, central, and south to be able to have those boxes. So any questions on that? Cool. Last thing that I've got on my agenda here for,
Chief,
yeah.
I'm sorry, on the box there, there's gonna be capacity for people to make donations for that.
Yes.
Right. Do you have any information on that?
So Julie, you want to speak of that?
So as soon as we get the okay from the attorney and he signs it, then we will officially be open for fundraising. So they're waiting on that. So there'll be a Facebook post that Safe
Okay.
Haven makes. And then, but people can go ahead and do checks now. You know, to
Okay.
Safe Haven Baby Box. And so if someone gets you a check, we're just giving it to Sonia or myself and we'll mail those to them. But as soon as we have the contract signed, they'll give us the actual online campaign that they create, and the money goes directly to Safe Haven on our behalf. And then from there, we just hit our goal. As soon as we hit our goal, we can order the box. The box takes 6 to 7 weeks to get in. And then, you know, so it's a process. So by fall sometime,
Okay,
it should be in, so.
cool. Yeah.
So like I said, it's a very methodical process to do that. And so the last thing that I have real quick, I know we joke quite a bit between the police and fire, and it painfully, kills me to say thank you to the police department laughingly. But I'm going to do it because pretty much, well, it wasn't you. On 7/13 at 23:45, the ambulance service as well as the police officer, Jerry Branson, was dispatched to 100 Ashwood Drive on a cardiac arrest. Right now, that lady is alive. So thanks to Jerry Branson and the police department for them to have their quick response to get there, to apply the AED, to shock the patient, to now she's still in the hospital with her long recovery, but she is going to make a full recovery. I just got information on it yesterday that she is actually going to survive her incident. So we give each other quite a bit, but it's nice to have law enforcement to be able to get there quickly, to be able to assist us in the time of need and stuff. So I appreciate that. So any other questions? Yes, sir.
Comment, maybe I'm wrong. Did you get some grant money?
We are in the process of getting grant money. It is not official yet. Yeah, so no, what it is we are in the process of 2 grants, one for a new apparatus and the other one for extrication equipment to replace our 25-year-old extrication equipment that we have on our rescue truck. The extrication grant came through, and there's a couple steps that before I get the official letter that says that, hey, congratulations, you've been awarded the grant. So one was to provide more information, i.e. bank accounts and routing numbers and stuff like that. So the grant writer has contacted me and told me that we are going to get the grant. So this year, that gentleman in that company that writes the grants, he has been told that he has 20 wins. And right now we're only the second one. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, that we'll get another phone call that we'll get a fire apparatus here soon. But once I get the official notification from FEMA that says, hey, congratulations, you've been awarded. The award is for $176,000 and some change for all new extrication equipment throughout our department. It's spreaders, cutters, anything that we can handle out on the interstate as far as extraction goes that we're going to completely retrofit our rescue truck.
Is the grant a full grant or a match?
It's a 10% grant.
Okay.
Yeah, 10% grant.
The only comment I have it's on the baby box issue, that contract will require council approval. It does obligate the town to make financial payments and also make a decision on the pre-installed camera. That's $1,000 difference. But it would have to go through the council for approval. I've reviewed the form. I have no issue with that. But it's since there's money involved, obligated by the council, it's not something that chief or Mr. Resky can sign. It would require this body.
Can we do that on the 25th?
Sure. You do, yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody else have any questions or anything? All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Farr.
Good evening. Police Department report for July. Started off the month with the Kiwanis Car Show. It was a huge turnout compared to years past. I think it's definitely a growing event. So it's good to see all the cars down there. On the 20th, the chief didn't mention it, but the police, fire, and ambulance were challenged to a wiffle ball game against the Pendleton Youth 7A team. Because we are athletes, we won by one. We won by one. And there was a lot of trash talking between both groups. Those kids could dish it out. It was amazing. The thing is, they've challenged us for next year, but the problem is we're going to take on the 7A team, which is a year younger than the team that we just beat, and we're a year older. So I don't understand how that's going to work in 5 to 10 years, but
Need
It was-
to advertise that.
yeah, it was, this was the first year. Interestingly, one kid, they asked him what they wanted to do, and he said, I want to play wiffle ball against the first responders. And so it turned into a thing, and that thing, we had a ball, I think. It was, and so hopefully it's gonna become maybe a yearly thing. So it was fun. Captain Trailer and I met with the clerk's office to discuss the 2023 budget proposal and start that process. We've completed that to keep in the time frame that the clerk's office needs. On the 26th, it was the 10-year anniversary date of the horrible night in Pendleton where Neil Scholl was murdered, and the gunman later took his own life. I always like to make note when that comes around each year. A lot of people don't realize, but Sergeant Shane Isaacs was missed by 6 inches. The only way I can describe it to you is the bullets went into the steering column while his hands were on the steering wheel. And then Officer Kroga, of course, responded to that, was definitely put into harm's way immediately. Throughout the night, the shooter took his own life, and Officer Marty Dolworth lost his foot, and the Anderson K9 Kilo was shot by the bad guy and then had to be shot again by law enforcement because of his issues. So it was the 10-year anniversary this month. We just brought on a new reserve. Her name's Amanda Hayes. Amanda comes highly recommended from, I believe, is Oxford was the department she came from earlier, but she Oxford, and I want to say Missouri. Is that right? Yeah, don't quote me on that. Oxford. But she dates a local person and she's affiliated with them, and that's what brought her to Pendleton. And so we're excited to have her, and she's excited to become a reserve. Her whole family came in for the swearing the other day. And then we finished off the month, of course, with Elwood Officer Noah Chavez. There we go. And I was out of town, but Lucas took over and the police department assisted at the funeral and everything else. So 831 total dispatch calls for the month. It was low crash investigations, though. We only had 7, but adult criminal arrests, we had 46. And I was telling Chet today, you have it in your packet, some of the titles of those arrests. Domestic battery, meth, marijuana hash, possession of marijuana, dealing Schedule 1 or 2 substance, so it's some kind of pill, cocaine, meth, another controlled substance, paraphernalia. We had 5 OWIs that appears, or at least 4. So we're definitely getting impacted by drug use. And yesterday we dealt with 2 subjects that were running around the woods by Foster's Branch. We ended up catching them on 800. They had meth and all the paraphernalia on them. And then what was it? Not today. Today we were helping the state parole agency. We had a parolee that's hiding in Pendleton. So we were dealing with that. We didn't get him today. But if you see a gold 4-door Buick with a guy with tattoos on his neck, feel free to call us. And then the other day, Officer Nathan Silva made a drug arrest, and the girl, because we don't do cavity searches, got the drugs into the jail and started distributing the medication from her body. And they had 1 overdose where that person died but was revived. And I think 2 or 3 others went to the actual hospital. So yeah. So it's been kind of busy in the last couple of days. Any other questions for me? Thank you.
Would you mind introducing your boss back there, Sammy?
My new wife, yes,
Great.
Sammy. I mean, everybody knows Sammy. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. I'm good. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for the chief? Is the judge online?
He's in
He's
Florida.
doing it. Really is. He's not. He's back. Yeah, he's back. Park department.
Good evening.
Just one quick thing I wanted to touch on in my report. The playground project has started, which is exciting. Originally, in the bid process, we had all of the equipment being removed and scrapped. We've made a change to that. We've had countless people reach out and ask us what we're doing with the old equipment. So at this point, we're removing everything we can. Some of it will be reused within the park in different locations. And then whatever's left, we will be auctioning off at a date to be determined. So watch our social media. We'll be sure to give plenty of notice before we have that auction, but that is the new plan with the equipment going forward. So you guys have any questions for me from my report or in general?
When is the completion date, or do we know?
We don't know. So we're doing the port in place surfacing, which makes our playground much more accessible. And that requires temperatures of 50 degrees or higher to be installed. So playground equipment is 12 to 16 weeks out. That has to go in before the surfacing can go in. So we're most likely looking at, weather dependent, of course, but mid-April, I would say, before we'll actually get the playground fully open.
That's gonna be one of the first questions.
Yeah. Yep.
And really, I think that's probably the best case, because then you can do your plantings at the same time versus trying to open the playground late and then waiting on the plantings, or trying to
Absolutely.
plant and not have it done. So
Yeah.
in the grand scheme, I think it probably is working out timeline wise as best as it could.
I would-
Is that
I would
what you
agree.
think? Okay.
Yeah, rather than opening an incomplete project
And
and
then
then having to come back and
Right.
shut things down for
Yeah.
a while things grow it. Yeah, absolutely.
How's the golf course doing?
The golf course is doing well. Mother Nature has turned around and given us some good weather the last couple of months. So hopefully that continues through, we'll take it through November at this point.
Yeah.
So,
That's good.
but yeah, things are good.
Any questions for Aaron, comments? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Hannah,
All right, you have our building permit summary in front of you. If you have any questions, just let me know. As far as some project updates, our historic preservation design guidelines are being updated. They reference our old UDO, so we need to update that to reference our new UDO. I'm also going to be checking if there's any new best practices for preservation techniques and add those in as well. The Thomas Pendleton House, which South Madison Foundation is in, completed a preservation plan, and they just got their approval on Tuesday from HPC for their COA to start exterior renovations. They have a lot of just damage and stuff that isn't historically accurate that they're going to be remediating. There's also grants that they can apply for where if the town is kind of like a co-signer, it looks better and we can all get more historic preservation funds. So we're going to be looking into that. As far as the building department, the structural engineer that we hired to do the structural assessment on 116 through 120 West State Street has completed their report. A copy has been certified mailed to the property owner. And we're also willing to work with them if they have any questions or they want to come in and get a copy, maybe discuss something. But basically that report is something you could take to a well-seasoned general contractor and they could basically take it and fix all of the things that need remediating. So they will have another hearing for BZA next week, where the BZA will decide how long the property owner has to sit with those plans or utilize them. And I'm not sure how long that will be. If not, the fees will start in October. But I think they would be more than willing to extend a certain amount of time for him to get the building repaired. After that, we'll have to, once our structural engineer make sure everything has been done correctly. We'll have to go in with Chief Nodine and start fire code violation remediations. And that will kind of be a whole other PZA process with how long they give him to do that. Planning Commission, we did pass some UDO updates that we'll be reviewing later. So we're continuing to fine tune the UDO. It's getting pretty close, I think, to a very solid document. I know it's going to be fluid as things get updated in the town and best practices and whatnot. But we're getting close. We had one rezone on the August Planning Commission agenda for the Bagley property that was given a favorable recommendation. That will be before you in September. They needed another month. They technically have 90 days, but they wanted to move to September for that. Secondary plats, we have Arabian Point, which is the intersection of Main and Tile, Kyle Smith's property. They are in review. That will probably be done within the next couple of weeks, depending on how long it takes their engineer to update their plans for our comments, as well as Cold Spring Section 3. They just submitted their secondary plat for review late last week. So we'll be doing that for them as well. Site development plan reviews in the planning department. We're getting really close with the Three Rivers Federal Credit Union and Starbucks. I'm just waiting on a few final things before they can start installing infrastructure. Our subdivisions are all going pretty steady. The falls, the roads are still being improved. I know that Brett met with them today, and they're not going to put on a final seal until I guess their concrete trucks are done being in there, which they only have 5 houses left to build that need driveways essentially, so it won't be that much longer. And then our US 36 project is going on track and will be let in 2024. Any questions for me? Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, we got a lot of major activity going on. The first is, as you know, we started paving. We started doing some prep work last week, but the first asphalt hit the ground today, and then we got Indiana Avenue done. They were working on Clark Street, and then that surprise rainstorm hit, and they had to roll everything up. For the ARPA project, cameras have been installed at the town hall, and as you can see, the carpeting is complete. And there were some surprises underneath the old carpet when we rolled it up. So it took a lot longer than we thought it was going to be. The MTO, MCOG, great news, is attempting to secure federal funds for that trail project, the Iron Bridge. It's been sitting there for a number of years, waiting for a crossing there at Fall Creek Drive and Taylor Street. So we're real excited about that. If you remember, we have a right of way that comes down from the industrial park and hits Fall Creek Parkway, and then no, I said that wrong. Fall Creek Drive, and then crosses into Pendleton, and then also a parallel along State Street coming into town. Purchased a couple of vehicles for the electric and water department just in time for the shutdown. And as soon as we bought them, the prices went up $8,000. So we made a good decision on buying those when we did. If you've noticed, we did a sidewalk project. Believe it or not, that sidewalk was actually a stormwater project. What was happening is water coming down State Street and headed to the west. It was hitting an apron and then flowing the rest of the way, the sidewalk there, all the way to the judge's house there at Caroline. It would turn into a river. And so we look for that. That's a big no-no. You want your curb and gutter to be your waterways for stormwater, not your sidewalks. It was the contractor did a really good job. It was a difficult getting all the elevations right and still being able to prevent that water from coming down somebody's apron. If you don't know, we now have a GPS unit, and the guys have started to train on that. And if we go to the next slide, this is not Mark Farr dumpster diving with Brett.
this is a photo, if you could zoom in, you can't, there's a fireman behind Mark, but this is proof that that's Mark begging to be a fireman.
I'm taking that place.
We're taking.
Training scenario. Notice how they're looking at me.
You're direct.
But anyway, I snapped that picture today. We had a patient's fine, a pallet shifted, pinned somebody in, and that's Brett. It's a multi-department picture. I always try to get a multi-department picture. So it's fire, police, and the building inspector all assisting with that incident. And then the attaboys, go to the next page. So Tracy did a wonderful job managing the carpet project. Like I said earlier, there was a lot of surprises as we rolled up the old carpet. And then some just regular contractor issues. The contractor did a fine job, and as you notice, the carpet underneath this is nice and cushy now. And then just the street department, water department, electric department, they've just been busy as heck, and the heat has not really slowed them down. We had a break in the heat this week, but as you know, it's been a hard summer to be outside all the time. Any questions?
Not a question, but I got a comment, Scott, about the sidewalk project here on State Street. I've had a couple of people ask me about the driveway, and I informed them that the homeowner paid for that
Right, so,
with the contract. We didn't pay for that.
right, so the homeowners along there informed us of this issue. And part of the problem that we had is if we poured that concrete at a high enough elevation, then some of that water off the sidewalk would go into his lower driveway and then right into his basement. So for this to really work, he had to, with his own money, build up his own driveway. He did that. So it was not town money.
Right.
We do have a program that if a homeowner has, they would like the sidewalk replaced in front of their house, if they pay for the labor, we pay for the concrete. Of course, I came up with that idea before concrete prices went through the roof. I wish I would have flipped it around, but anyway, so for a lot lower cost, the town is able to replace some sidewalks.
People know about that.
Now, we've kept it sort of quiet because
Too busy.
I don't have enough money to do what I think if we advertise the onslaught of projects as we come in. So usually what people do is they approach us, there's a problem with the sidewalk. And if it's not a safety issue, it's more aesthetic. I say, we'll do this. Pay for your concrete if you pay for the labor to fix the sidewalk in front of your house. If it's a safety issue, the town takes it on, because that's just something we need to do.
Can I go in front of my house too?
Except your house.
I don't have a side. Yeah,
Good report. We don't have any old business to talk about, so let's go right into the new business. Resolution 22-07, amending the monthly transfers.
Okay, what this does is that, so the transfers that come off, we have a set schedule by ordinance. And we increased the depreciation for electric and water, tweaking it a little bit a while back. Water is perfect where it is. It's the right amount of cash flow into the depreciation fund. The electric was peeling off too much money. And we decided to cut it in half. Depreciation fund for electric does have plenty of money. I can give you that. I got it on my computer, but that amount escapes me right now. But that fund is healthy, but it was the transfer was just too much. It was making it lopsided, making that fund have too much money. The other thing is just another tweak. So we try to keep the operating budget fund at a minimum balance every month. So it's a reserve. It's recommended by State Board of Accounts. I think it's a month and a half worth of operations. So that number was established well before any of us. And because of what we were peeling off of electric, we weren't being able to make that. So the other little tweak to this is that the clerk treasurer's office can, at their discretion, peel off a little bit more or less from the electric fund to make sure that, or go back into the electric fund to shore up the operating fund if there's a shortfall. That makes sense. Anybody got any questions?
Is that primarily a scenario with the State Board of Accounts that they're recommending? Or this?
It's just good practice, the minimum operating balance. It's best
But you
practice.
shuffle back and forth as funds are needed.
Yeah. Dr. Karen, we don't like to shuffle funds a lot, but we can,
Don't like them words, do
you know,
I mean, it's a better choice of word, but
yeah,
transfer if needed.
yeah, transfer is needed. Great, that's perfect.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me make a little comment on this. Scott and Karen work hard on this kind of stuff. They meet, I think, weekly. And sometimes it lasts 30 minutes, sometimes a couple hours, but these are things that they're looking at and trying to look ahead. And it really helps the town, helps us. It really does. Thanks to both of you. Any questions on this amending the monthly transfers?
Okay,
Comments?
just because I'm not in the financial office upstairs, this just affects these two top funds that are on our clerk treasurer's report we get every month. The electric revenue receipt and the water revenue receipted, right? It
That's-
doesn't affect the general fund balance. It doesn't.
This is all,
Utility.
Inter-utility transfers.
right, it's
Okay, got
not
it.
tax dollar money.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Good question. Can I have a motion on resolution 22-07 amending the monthly transfer?
So moved.
I'll second. I got a motion and a second on resolution 2207 amending monthly transfers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Resolution passed. Next order of business is resolution 22-08. You go ahead and,
De minimis,
I have a hell of a time pronouncing this word, so I'm not even gonna try.
Latin for the minimum.
Yeah,
So state law says that state employees or public employees, if they use public assets for their own personal gain, they can get in trouble. And there's been some incidents in the past where, not here, but a couple state employees got in trouble for like using their cell phone because somebody was being petty. They used their cell phone to call and set up a doctor's appointment, and disgruntled employee, turned them in to Inspector General. Inspector General said, yeah, that's a violation of the law, but you need to have something that state law allows as a de minimis policy. And that's for using for insignificant use of public property, such as the cell phones that we issue to everybody to make personal calls from it during work, such as to set up a doctor's appointment. Allows somebody to use the copier. Let's say they got a copy of some blank. This happened, not a lot, but it happened during COVID. People had to print out homework for their kids because their school is at home and they didn't have a means to do it. So they come here and make 10 copies or whatever. So that's a de minimis use. And it protects the employees from somebody technically charging them with something that was so insignificant. Doesn't allow them to violate policy, can't use things for business. You can't take a backhoe home and dig a new septic tank or anything like that. And it doesn't exempt them from violating any town's policy. So this is recommended by Inspector General of the state that everybody has this in place. And so that's why we're doing it. Questions?
questions or comments from the council?
Yeah.
Yes,
No, this is a policy that borrowed very heavily from the gaming commission's policy. I think it's an excellent idea. It's the first one I've seen of these in municipality. But I think Scott's idea is excellent. I recommend passage.
So this come from where?
Another state agency.
I just try to give her a heads up. Hey, any questions on resolution 22-08? If not, like have a motion. Second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve 2208.
Second.
Thank you, both of you. Have a motion for resolution 22-08. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Resolution carries. Next one is ordinance 22-29, amending the 2022 salary ordinance.
Chip,
Yeah, go ahead, Will.
this was brought to my attention by the judge. And it basically covers the court clerk and court administrator, and they got left off of our wage agreement. And this is just putting them on there. There's 2 part-time peoples all involved.
Took us 8 months to catch it.
Yeah.
It's no biggie, but legally, we need to have this on paper and part of the salary ordinance, current salary ordinance.
And to be clear, just a matter of just making this perfectly clear, the 21.75 to 25 is in line with the increases that were in the previous salary ordinance, the 5%.
That was in the 2020, right?
Yes.
Right, okay,
Yeah. That's what I was told.
okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, can I have a motion on ordinance 22-29, amending the 2022 salary ordinance?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Thank you, both of you. I have a motion for ordinance 2022-29, amending the 2022 salary order. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Thank you.
Make a
We need
motion to
second reading on
suspend the
this?
rules to do the second reading for the ordinance.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, we have a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 22-29, amending the 2022 salary ordinance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion is carried. Now, I need a motion to have the second reading on ordinance 22-29, amending the 2022 salary ordinance.
I'll make a motion with second reading 2229 to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. Have a motion to approve the second reading on 22-29, amending the 2022 salary ordinance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Thank you. Next one is ordinance 22-30, amending the UDO. I
Yep,
guess
so this is
that's
just
Hannah.
another round of amendments for our UDO, continuing to fine tune it. Most of them regarded signage inadequacies in the signage section and some confusion between definitions and what was actually in the signage table. So it just clarified those really well. And those were all given favorable by the planning commission.
Any questions for Hannah?
Have you got any public comments on these at all? On changing the UDO?
No, I mean, if people come to the meetings, it's usually for rezones or primary plats. Most of the time, there's not any comments on, it's all
Okay.
board
I
making
think a lot
comments.
of it is, I'm gonna give you a pat on the back, but between her and Denise, they read this thing constantly, trying to improve it.
Mhm.
And it.
Yeah.
It's the right thing and the best thing, and I appreciate it. It's one of the best, like I've said over and over, ordinances that we got, so,
I think we're officially to 250 pages now.
yes.
We were at 246.
It's pretty much a living document then.
Yes,
We're
yes,
gonna
it
continue.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so while it's it's a good solid document
Mhm,
and that's good to have.
mhm.
It's gonna continue to evolve, you know, just as new things come about or
As
best
the town
practices.
changes, yes.
Mhm, yep.
Yeah.
Or things that aren't working and we try to put something different in place that would work better.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, can I have a motion on ordinance 22-30 amending the UDO?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 22-30 from UDO.
Have a motion, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, I got a motion and a second on ordinance 22-30 amending the UDO. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same.
Make a motion to suspend the rules for 22-30. Have second reading.
The motion to suspend the rules.
You don't have to
Excuse
do
me.
it. Planning
Do we have to do that since the
Yeah, this is
planning?
the planning one. I would say, yeah, Hannah, be quiet, but Hannah's right.
We already have.
Planning commission is the first reading, so.
They did.
Yeah, that's an exception. Planning ones you only have to pass once because we have a public hearing on August 3rd. The planning commission is considered the first reading. Man.
So Shane shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, Shane
No.
messed up.
Yeah, there we go.
Mark that down.
I know it says
Okay,
ordinance.
thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance
Yeah, no problem.
22-30 amending the UDO is passed. How's that?
Excellent.
That'll work. Next one is the 2023 fire budget. This is a little different. Normally, we don't do one department. But there are some timelines that need to get done on this, so. What I'd like to do, if the rest of the council's okay with, I'd like to start with Steve on his comments for the council, because he is the president of Fire Territory Board. He's worked his rear end off on this. So, Steve, go ahead. Sorry to put you in the hot seat.
No, that's fine. Basically, as you all know, the fire territory, we've been working on it. Well, I've personally been working on it since 2020 and with a lot of help from a lot of people, a lot of different organizations and committees and townships and the board, volunteers. We are here today to speak about the budget going forward. I'd like everybody to understand that the fire territory committee or board represents the provider unit, which is the town of Pendleton. And then it has the two townships of Green and Fall Creek. This budget has been passed not only by the fire territory board, but also has to be passed and approved by the township boards, which they have already done so. So this budget is being presented tonight by Chief Nodine to start the process of hiring full-time firefighters, which was the goal from day one of becoming a professional paid department. And so he's going to discuss tonight the budget. And the last thing I'd like to say on this is that the budget that he's presenting is the budget that has been that the DLGF is approving and is in line with everything we need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me ask a comment here. Jeff and I talked about this because Steve's comment on the DLGF. I may be wrong, Karen, you help me, but I don't know. I'm not sure that it's approved through the DLGF, but we put it in the minutes that hasn't been approved.
I spoke with Paige earlier in the week and long story short, the DLGF, this is a phase-in budget of 3 years, as everybody knows on here. And they actually put it in as a 1-year budget, 2-year budget, 3-year budget. So Baker Tilly, our representative Paige Sasson, contacted the commissioner and reminded him of that they had already approved phase-in budget for another fire territory last year. That corrected the situation. She has been told verbally that it will be approved. We just haven't got the official documentation. So officially, no, but the DLGF has told
I'm
our.
okay with it. I just want to make sure what we're doing is legal. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the initial approval for it. We just had effectively a scrivener's error in it.
Okay.
That'd be correct.
Thanks, Steve. Yep. Chief Noda.
Cool. Like you said, this has been definitely a work in progress from day one, when Chief Moore was actually at that time tasked to provide information about transitioning from a volunteer fire department to a paid fire department in a fire territory, if you will. So myself and my administration going forward, which is my finance chief, Jake Gardner, and the operations chief, Darren Isaacs, who will be starting here probably within the next couple of weeks or so. We sat down and tried to figure out, okay, what's the game plan of this going forward? Obviously, you know, we wanted to help the community as much as possible by not doing, you know, the one big lump sum at once. So that's where we came in with the stair step approach about this. And so the budget that you see for you is for 2023. Going forward, there will be a new one presented for 2024 and another one presented for 2025, because that's what we sent to the DLGF for approval. And these numbers are exactly what Paige had sent to us. So we've massaged the numbers and personnel to provide 24/7 full-time coverage to make sure that the trucks are getting out the door, to where we don't have to sit there and go, okay, with the second call is the issue of it not being covered. Are we going to have somebody show up to the station that's not already committed to their other full-time job? So, so with that, what you see, the budget itself, I need to print this a little bit smaller next time, don't I?
I agree.
It's like 1.86 was the overall budget, which is what was submitted to the DLGF for the year 2023. That basically gets us 6 full-time firefighters, and the rest, everybody would be what we consider a part-time firefighter. We are changing the terminology from a volunteer to a part-time. We're making everybody basically an hourly employee, because I can't pay the same person 2 wages for doing the same job. So I can't pay Danny Gardner, or I'll just use Bob for example, because Bob was on the fire department for a while. I can't pay Bob a per run rate and then him turn around and pick up 24 hours as a part-time person. So I have to pay him one rate for doing the same job. So we've kind of figured out how we wanted to do things. So we wanted to make everybody a part-time employee, if you will.
Everybody.
Everybody. And it would be, we would have a scheduler, because we currently use Verico as a scheduler. So there would be a scheduling system that is there. If we have a structure fire, people come in, they would get a certain rate that stay at home, and the people that would stay at the fire station for 24 hours, because they're away from their families, would get paid a different tier rate, if you will. So tier 1 and tier 2 rate. So that's kind of the operations that we go through. There's still some.
Chief, let me ask one
Yeah.
question. So these part-time employees will be January 1st.
Correct.
About the EMTs.
January 1st.
Okay.
Yep. The ambulance service will be transitioning from the private organization, the Pendleton Emergency Ambulance Incorporated, to the fire territory come January 1. So the ambulance service, those folks will transfer over. There's a lot of miscommunication that I'm going to kick everybody off and make them go away. Absolutely not. I have to rely on a lot of people to be that part-time employee, if you will, volunteer, in lack of a better sense. It is a transition. We are going to require a little bit more stringent, because the ambulance service is now part of the fire department. So the folks we're offering in-house the training to make them certified in firefighting 1 and 2. Now, it's not to say that they probably won't structurally fight fire, but they will have the certifications. We will put that class on in-house to be able to do that, because they're not a private organization anymore. They're part of the fire department. So everybody has to maintain those certifications, ISO rating.
Do you have to wait to start the training?
No.
Okay.
No, we can do that training now. And so with the approval of the budget that you have before you, will allow us the number to hire and go forward, because it's a lengthy process to hire firefighters, whether it be a lateral transfer from another fire department or somebody that's brand new, fresh out of a fire school to come in. We got to send them to the pension doctor. We got to send them to get the physicals. I don't know what the turnaround time is, because I got to schedule all of that to get there. So that's kind of why we're before you today, so that way we can proceed on with the hiring process, because it is a lengthy amount of time to be able to get this accomplished.
Questions for Chief? Comments? I think, Marissa, I'm gonna start on that end. I know I asked for questions or comments, and you were saying that, you know, all of us okay with this? I guess what I'm trying to say.
It's budget season, so this is one more spreadsheet that I get to attempt to memorize. I don't have any questions per se. I think you guys have laid it out with very descriptive terms for each thing. Do you feel that this is a feasible budget for year one? I mean, we have an obligation to provide fire service to these areas that we've joined hands with, and even some mutual aid stuff. Is this going to give you what you need to be able to provide the level of service that everybody has come to expect out of?
I'm going to be truthfully honest with you. I'm going to hold my breath until July 2024.
Okay.
Because at July 24 allows me to apply more people to the fire stations that would be able to get the trucks out the door. Right now, volunteerism it's with our department, it's with the other departments. East Madison's having a hard time hiring people. You see it on Facebook all the time, and they're just up the road to be able to do this. Can we make this work? Absolutely. Will we make this work? Absolutely. And it's not like I'm going to go straight Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, not doing any runs. And I'm going to still take runs at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It will be nice at some point when I don't have to do that and turn the pager off, but it's still, it's an obligation that I take the oath to be able to do and to provide the service to the community. Now, would I like to see this increased? Absolutely. Just for the sake of mind that I know that everybody, that the 3 boards have said, yes, we're going to proceed this on, that I know that I've got coverage to mitigate any incident that's thrown at us. And that's kind of where I stand. So this was a little bit of a shock because we thought it was going to be more. And then when the numbers came back from Paige, there was some miscommunication with that, and we've made it work. We've massaged it, we've tweaked it a little bit, and we're going to make it work, and within reason, and until 2024, because that will be the next draw that we will get for our second year's budget will be in July. So it's it's going to be tight for a while.
And I share your concerns about volunteers, and that's everywhere in town. I mean, all of our civic organizations are hurting for volunteers, let alone ones that don't ask people to run into burning buildings every day.
Absolutely.
And so the only challenge that I guess I would issue to you is that you guys have a rich legacy of serving people, and it's just up to you to continue that culture, even as you transition to this next phase. That's the only real feedback I have. Steve probably already has said his piece.
Well, I said a little bit. I think Chet called me off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I just want to comment that I just want everybody to realize that there's a lot of other communities out there that are looking to see how this goes as a fire territory. I think that the chief and his staff have done an excellent job of preparing a budget to be successful in the future. With that being said, like I said, other agencies are looking at us to see how this proceeds, because I see in the next several years, this particular fire territory becoming bigger and bigger. And everybody I've spoken with regarding the volunteers and the Pendleton Fire Department, everybody I've spoken to regarding coverage, 90% of the time it was like, thank God Pendleton got there. And there's no question in my mind that the service will maintain the high level that it currently has.
Right. Just today, just for example, today, between the hours of 8 and 9 o'clock, the picture that Scott took, we had 2 EMS calls, one of which was transporting a serious bicycle accident to Methodist Hospital. The second one was an engine fault, which required our engine and an ambulance. We sent a rescue truck to Adams Township and an ambulance over there. And then we took care of that incident, and we came back to this incident here in town. So within a short amount of time, we had 5 runs going on, and one of our ambulance was transporting a critical injured down to Methodist Hospital via ground. So the volunteer, the people show up when need to be, to be able to be called upon. And that's something that when we put this together, that we want those people to still show up to cover those runs that we have. Just because we're working with somebody that's paid there 24/7, we still have to have the people to show up, and it will reflect in the budget. And hopefully those guys, once it's passed, will see and be happier from where they're at now.
And the last thing I want to say money wise is this 1.868 budget, next year it goes up to 4.2 and some change, and then the following year it goes up over 6 million.
Yes.
And that will be the final.
And that gets us to
market.
about 35, 38 firefighters full-time.
And if other agencies come in, then we can redo the fire territory, and then we can redo the budget.
Very good point. It's gonna happen.
It is gonna, trust me, I've already been contacted by other agencies that are really close to this department.
Shane, you got anything, or Bob?
No, I'm just glad we had that sit down a while back and discussed the budget, because I brought some concerns up to you and you guys answered it. Let's just hope this works.
It's gonna
We did
happen.
enough time. We've
It's not a
had.
viable strategy. I guess we have
We've had
assurance
enough,
when
yeah, we've had enough of seeing around that, other fire territories are hurting bad, so hopefully we learn from their mistakes.
And that was the biggest thing is the phase in process was a learning curve, because other departments, LaPel, Stony Creek, Greenfield Fire Territory, they're stuck. They can't go anywhere or do anything as far as increasing their budget. To be able to have the 3 phase in, to see where the growth is going, because we got to work with the planning department, because if we start putting transient, hotels out here at the interchange, that's a game changer for us. And not only what you guys control, but what Ingalls is controlling in Green Township. We have to be able to foresee what's going on in the future. A lot of the departments that are already a fire territory, their cities and towns are already established. We still have a bunch of cornfields and bean fields that people are wanting to move into here. So we're taking the progressive report, action on this thing. And like I said, the phase in was a big key, because I didn't want to cut us out for 3 years and go, oh, I should have done
And
that.
we did know that start now.
Correct. Yeah, that was a change in the state statute here recently, so.
Yeah. But like the chief was saying, these departments are in trouble. They can't change their budget. They can't add. It's set in stone. They're spending money that's not going to be coming to them. So this is good on our side of it.
And nothing coming from the general fund.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I got a couple questions here.
Okay.
You're talking 6 firefighters in January.
Mhm.
You've got on your budget, one of them be a captain, 2 of them be lieutenants, 3 be firefighters.
Those are probably going to be down the road as officers.
Timeframe.
Yeah, we had to put that in there just for the simple fact to show you guys the numbers, because eventually that we will have captains, we will have lieutenants, we will have battalion chiefs. We will be a true, like an Anderson Fire Department, where we're going to be multiple, one person in charge of those stations as a battalion chief. So we're going to have to pay him a little bit more. But it's not to say that everybody that comes in is going to be a captain or a lieutenant right off the bat. That is something that, we're going to work for, because I don't know who I'm going to hire. I don't know who's
Well,
going to
if you
turn in
only got
applications.
6 people to choose from, you might have to do a lot of that the second year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's in there, so that way we know where we're at as far as the bottom dollar.
Got a
That
question.
number, I think Jake told me the total would be 9.
That's
The
all.
first year?
This is the budget we handed to the fire territory because the whole insurance deal. So depending on how the insurance works out, now that we've had those meetings, we're gonna go our own route to get final numbers. We get final numbers and insurance comes back lower than what we budgeted. Then we put it up.
More
Personnel,
firefighters.
But just based off of what original numbers we had during this budget in the fire territory. So we can start with 6, but if money shows up from saving money on insurance costs and stuff like that, we can hire more. So, yeah, the hope is to hire more than 6.
But right now, this is the, if we went with the town's insurance, that number is in here as far as a budget item. If we find that this insurance that we're going with comes in at a better price, and then we know that we've got that money that we can shift towards hiring more people.
Chief, okay, that couple questions on the, Jake, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the budget. Thank you for that presentation. On the salary configuration, I guess I have a little concern. I think it's a good piece of work, no question on that. We do have a little concern on, I look at public safety, police and fire, police, fire, and EMS, kind of all as one. Recognize there's a difference among the different categories there. But looking at the salary equations, these look pretty decent on that. I think we probably agree with that. I look at that, well, being the police department, granted, it's not a territory, it's a town. There's a difference on that. I do have some reflection on, seems like police, fire, seem comparable on the pay.
Okay,
I know on the, I know that's not something you can address. I
right.
don't know it's something we can address either in immediate fashion to increase the pay for the police department. Because
Oh, absolutely. I think, I mean, to me, and they need everything that they need, they deserve.
Yeah.
And that's the whole
You-
thing. And
You do as well.
yeah, and with this, I went back through Jeff, because he was such a penny pincher, because him being an engineer, I gotta figure out where my piece of paper's at. Jeff Moore, Keith Moore. So just to give you an idea, in 2019, he took 8 departments: Alexandria, Anderson Fire, Buck Creek, Elwood, Fishers, Greenfield, Sugar Creek, and Pittsboro. Just accumulation of a budgetary number for their fire chiefs. He called all these departments, and that number turned out to be an average of $117,400. He did the assistant chiefs all the way around, and that was 104. A battalion chief was 100,000, and a captain was at 90,000. So that was 3 years ago. So what we did is we took these numbers from what he did back then, kind of took what everybody is around us now, because Vernon Township just went to a fire territory this last year. So they're already in year 2 of their existence. Same way with East Madison, and took their budgets, and really I'm $300 more than what the Vernon Township fire chiefs make. So it's very comparable to what they're making. Now, to compare the police and fire, there's no comparison as far as that goes. We've got 4 entities that we have to cover: Pendleton, Fall Creek, Green, and Ingalls. You know, where the town of Pendleton Police Department just covers the town of Pendleton. Now, they do mutual aid with the Ingalls and the city of Anderson because of the interstate and so on and so forth. And if people need help, I get that. But, you know, with the housing boom that's going on, I have to make it appeasing to keep people here, because I don't want to be a stepping stone to train them and then turn around in 6 months, they go down to Hamilton County because they're getting a $30,000 pay raise. And that comes from the top all the way down to the base firefighter.
I can understand the math on that. I guess I just look at the police and fire, like public safety. I've got some issue, not an issue that you've created or anybody created or the town has created, but just concern on that, on the difference on that. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's the only thing that I have, because, you know, when we did the budget, I have to make it appeasing for me as the chief to be able to go to the Ingalls Town Council meeting and present a report to them as well, to be able to do that, because I have that, you know, obligation to be able to do that, so they know what's going on in the future. Same way with businesses that come in to be inspection. I'm going to be the one to do it. So that money is part of that, to be able to do that. And hopefully with going forward, the base firefighter, we made it very appeasing for somebody, for a Hamilton County firefighter to transfer from Hamilton County to come to this department because of what this department's going to be doing.
Thank you. I mean, question I got here is, let's use one of the assistant chiefs. Yeah, I presume we don't have any assistants here. I was trying to do it without using names. Okay, and it talks about 85,000. Then in 2023, 85,000 is what we're talking about. Then the next column has got comments for 2023 calculations. It says assistant chief, $25,000. What is that?
That's on top of, I am a base salary firefighter. So Jake comes in, if he does not, if I boot him out of an assistant chief spot, he goes back to the truck. He is part of that salary. So that stipend to be an assistant chief is $25,000 is what that is. That's what that comment is.
So the 25,000 would come off the 85, is that what you're telling me?
Correct, and that would be his. He would
So the
come in as a
base
base
fireman-
salary firefighter at
The
60.
the base fireman then is 60,000.
Correct. And that's the next three lines up from the dark. It says firefighter would be 60,000. So all of the administration would come in as one of those base firefighters. So if the fire territory board removes me as a fire chief, I wear a black hat and I sit on the back of a fire truck.
Is that the stack numbers?
That's the stack pay, yeah. Yeah, that's the stack pay. So same way with paramedic pay, same way with the captains and lieutenants. Those are just a bonus
Same
And
way
I'm-
with your retirement too, everything based
on your base
fire.
salary. Correct. Yeah. So he's not getting 85 plus the 25. He's just getting
I didn't
85.
mean
Yeah,
it. I just wanted to clarify.
I'm sure he would like that, but
Any other comments or questions? If not, need a motion. This actually isn't an ordinance or a resolution. It's just a yes and no vote, correct?
Yes.
And like Steve was saying, the other board has approved it. I say the other boards, fire territory board and the township advisory boards have approved it. So our job, being the providing unit, is to look at these numbers and approve it or not approve it. I'm gonna make one comment. Believe me, just one. I agree with Bob on the money. I think our police department's underpaid. We've worked and worked the last, I know, 2 years and a half, getting them more money. And I think it was, I forget who it was, doesn't matter. Said, we'll get there with the police department. It's not that easy with general fund money. There's just so much money in that pie, and that's it. We're taking out this section of the pie, put it over here to the police, this section's short of money. That's just, you just get so much money. Karen's worked with us as far as what the proposed, not proposed, what the tax levy is with the circuit breaker, and we're actually gonna have less money. Karen, you correct me if I'm misspeaking here, less money this year or for 2023 than what we had for 2022. Now, the first question people are gonna bring up is these salaries and so forth. We got all these new homes. It doesn't work that way. More homes doesn't mean you get more tax dollars. They spread it out so your taxes are lower. That makes sense. So, like I said, I have a concern over the salaries and starting a, I don't know what the word is, but it concerns me. We're paying a difference of like this. There's a big gap.
I don't know.
What?
What is the average salary for one of our police officers?
Cab trailer.
53,096.
Which guys?
How much basic patrolman pay? 53,000.
One thing I want to make sure we do as a community is not pit our fire department against our police department. Because that should never be a discussion between this chief and that chief. Because this department, fire department deserves everything they need and should get everything they should get. And it should never be that Chief Nodine has to explain why he needs more than Chief Barr. But we all know that budget, you guys need to approve it, we take care of our firemen. But it is shameful. And I'm sick of hearing it. And I'm just gonna say it because everyone in the room's thinking it. I have watched boards before you, town managers before you say, police, 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 our priority. And I'm gonna tell you, where there's a will, there's a way. And we have found a way to do some great impossible things for fire department, and everyone's applauding that, and that needs to be separate from the police. but y'all need to do your job. And you need to do what you promised, and you need to increase these police officers' pay. I'm sick of seeing one police officer after another get bullets and all the stuff that's happening, Richmond, all these little towns, all these little places. We're asking these guys to put their life on the line, and they make nothing. They make nothing. And I think if you guys were committed, it would happen. And I'm not taking excuses anymore. Chet, I love you, but find the money. And Scott, find the money. Karen, find the money. I don't want to see one of my men or women put their life on the line and something happens to them. My son-in-law is a police officer, and every time something happens, our family reacts, and it's emotional for our family. Scott's a reserve. He understands that it's different for the fire families. We're emotional about what happens there. We're on both sides of it. But somebody has to quit telling us they're gonna support the police department, and somebody needs to do it. Bob, you're right on. You're right on. It is shameful. How many years have you served, Chief Barney? 18 years. Well, what do you make? $72,000 after 18 years serving this community. And we're gonna bring in other people in other positions that make more. That is shameful, guys. That is shameful. And other departments, because I know because we're a police family, make a lot more money for a lot less work. And you need to approve the fire department, and you need to keep doing what you're doing with them. And we need to make sure these two never have to ever feel like Chief Barr standing here going, this sucks. I'm on the same scene with Chief Nodine. Chief Nodine's making this, and I'm making this. I am sick and tired of hearing shuffling money here, but we can never find money for the police. And since I've been coming to council meetings, it's not just you guys. So 18 years, 73,000, 72,000 a year. And what is our police officer start at the beginning? 53 for a starting police officer. That's shameful, guys. And I'm gonna tell you, I pray to God, and we don't have enough police officers. I'm sitting there listening to meth, cocaine, meth, and we don't have enough police officers, and we don't have enough backup. And I hear Chief Nodine and how many he has to have on one fire. And we're hearing that, and we're taking care of it, and we have to. But when Chief Barr says it, we don't hear it, and we're not taking care of it. And I don't understand the difference between the two. That is my, as a citizen of Pendleton, you are failing to protect us. And you're failing to pay them the money they're worth. And I tell you what, if someone's got a gun to your head, you're gonna wish you had the best of the best. And we can't compete. We cannot get someone from Hamilton County to come to here. You know, I mean, I know what my son-in-law makes, and I know what people who are barely into it, a couple years into it, they're making 80, 90 to 100,000 a year as a new police officer. So the same goes for both. And as you rise and lift this boat, you got to lift this boat. And the fact that we are doing one and not doing both at the same time, you know, we had all three of those people at that thing today. We bragged about, we had the town there, we had fire, we had ambulance. And let's pay them. And I believe you guys are smart enough to find a solution. I know the money's there, and I do believe Chet is harder to do that. No question at all. But I sit here and watch you guys find the money for everything but the police. And you have gotten some new officers, you've done some stuff, but it's too slow. It's too slow. And I am scared for our safety. You know, he just said there's a patrol, there's someone loose right now who's not been found in our town. And, you know, who's dangerous, who wants to do bad things. So I'm just begging you as a citizen, thank you for supporting our fire department, and please vote and please accept that tonight. And then help Chief Farr be Chief No Nine's equal, because right now they're not equal. And if, you know, Jacob or somebody else becomes an assistant chief, then we've got Captain back right here, right behind me, who's making what? What do you? So 64 versus 85. I understand that. So I'm begging you guys, that's all I gotta say. I'm just begging you to do the right thing.
People are moving out here because they hear we have a good, stable town, police, fire, and school. Thank you.
Council, any more questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve? I guess that's the right way to do it.
You just call for a roll call vote if
Okay.
you'd like on to approve or deny it. It'd have to be yes or no.
Council, may I also say something as well? You know, it is very difficult to look at this budget compared to the police department, because I get it. I get where you're coming from, Bob. I was at Anderson, APD, AFD, they were neck and neck. They were the same, they provided the same service in the same area as well. I'm gonna tell you right now, I agree with Julie 100%. And you gotta figure out where to get them some money to bring them up, because that's gonna bring better police officers in this community. It's gonna keep police officers here by being able to provide them. You know, yeah, I'm gonna be doing everything that I'm gonna be doing out into the county as well as in Ingalls and stuff like that. I get it. I get what they have to cover as far as the area goes, but I'm gonna tell you right now, they have my support. And if I have to do anything to get them that pay raise, then I'm all for it.
Willie? Roll call vote.
Bob Jones,
Aye.
What?
Aye.
Marissa Skaggs,
Aye.
Shane Davis,
Aye.
Steve Denny,
Aye.
Chet Bab.
Aye.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next thing is ordinance 22-32, non-reverting restricted fund for South Madison Fire Protection Territory.
This ordinance would create a fund and a restricted fund in the clerk treasurer's office to receive funds now and in the future. So we can, for budgetary reasons, and we can show it to our participating units. This is the money that's coming in. This is how it's being used. It allows for better accounting of that money that comes in. And it also, if you notice the last paragraph, it does refer to funds coming in for the remainder of this year to be put in that fund. But just creates a fund, it doesn't direct the use of any of it or anything like that, just to say, at this point, more of an accounting exercise than anything else, but it adds clarity. And since we're joining hands, as Marissa said, with our township friends, it gets them, where's my money going? What goes here? And then it goes there. So overall.
Any questions on the ordinance 22-32, non-reverting restricted funds?
There, I just have one comment regarding this. Just researching the general fund and line items in general. Part of this is to make sure, like, there is year-end money coming in from the ambulances, ambulance service, Green Township, Fall Creek. And that money will help the budget to start 2023. So we just wanted to clarify that money that is going to be written coming in will go to this fund, and there's going to be no question of where it's at.
And that money, Karen, you, Steve, help me, but that money from the township, Green Township, and from Fall Creek Township is through their budget to DLGF. Is what they decide. DLGF decides their budget. I shouldn't say budget, their line item. How much money goes into that?
This is not the money you're talking about that they have to give to you.
It would be, yeah, it would be like their contract line item, if you will.
Like they're doing now. Like
Correct,
Fall Creek
yeah.
Township's done forever.
Yeah,
Okay.
in 2023.
Yes.
Yes,
that
like
was-
January 1, right? Is that the idea that on January 1, they're gonna like give you this money to start?
Well,
operations? Or hopefully before then, but I mean.
right, I know Fall Creek Township with the town of Pendleton Fire Department has a contract and it's 2 draws. And then it would be that second draw that money would go into this this restricted fund and non-reverting fund to be used to help offset until we get our first draw in the fire territory in July.
Wait
Karen?
a minute, let's think about this. You're gonna take the money that is due in 20, the last draw from Fall Creek, so that 730. You wanna take that money and put that into 2023. How you gonna, that money was already budgeted for.
This year, Jake will explain it better, but yeah.
So Fall Creek and Town of Pendleton pay into the fire department budget currently this year. Ingalls pays $15,800 a month into the fire department, but that wasn't budgeted into the current budget. That was supposed to be its own separate line item. Green Township is supposed to pay $80,000. Greg Valentine said he's gonna pay an $80,000 contract this year. We're gonna operate off the money that we already had in our budget. Our budget wasn't based off the $80,000 because Greg didn't say
We
that
didn't know
until
what it was.
a couple months ago. So by rolling him, when he writes that $80,000 check for fire coverage, Craig Gaskell is giving a $100,000 check for next year, not for this year, for next year. That fund is for all this to go into that fund, roll it over to operate the first 6 months of next year. We're not touching our current budget. The current budget of the town of Pendleton and Fall Creek Township is already budgeted, but the $80,000 from Green Township, yeah, that would all go into its own separate fund and then roll it over. But no, our current budget that
Yeah, the
that was set
252
for
was-
January to December will be what we operate off of.
What about the money
That's why he's
negotiated?
finance guy.
What about the money negotiated with Ingalls for 23?
23, that goes for next year's money, which we're working on a new contract with them. Page factored that into the $1.8 million. So that $190,000 is factored into that 1.86 or whatever her number is.
Okay, but that 190 didn't include any ambulance money.
Next year, it's all the same. So that 190 is what Paige took what the current contract was with the town of Ingalls. And she added
So
that
you're
in.
saying
She
the
put that
current
into.
Contract will go from 190 to here because the ambulance. is
No, the
not-
ambulance service never charged Ingalls for coverage.
We never.
There was,
2023,
no, there would be no upcharge for the 190.
It'd be 190.
it's gotta be more than 190. We need to negotiate.
Well, that's what we're in the negotiations for, but Paige took 190 because that's what the contract number was.
That's
If
what
it-
the interlocal.
If it's more, then it's more money, but,
Yeah.
but we can't budget that money without knowing what it is.
Sure.
Okay. Ordinance 22 I got a question, Karen and Jeff. 22 30 is the last one we voted on. Ordinance,
Yes.
why is this one 2 more numbers away?
I gave another one that there's 2, Bakley property and.
Yeah.
something
They're on
else.
hold on next
They're on
one. We had
hold.
already gave them, but they just asked for continuous.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Bakley.
So ordinance 22 32, non-reverting restricted funds for South Madison Fire Protection Territory. I need a motion and second, please.
I'll make a motion.
So moved. I'll second.
Thanks, Steve. Shane. We have a motion and a second on ordinance 22 32, non-reverting restricted funds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
I make a motion to suspend the rules and have the second reading for 22-32.
I have a motion and I need a second.
I'll second to suspend the rules.
Spread it around good. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules on second reading of 22 32. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you.
Chip,
Yes, sir.
we've got some new people there tonight. You might want to explain what we're doing here so they don't think it's jibber jabber.
What we're doing when Shane, I teasingly bumped him like this because this started. Shane needs to let somebody else make this motion on this, suspend the rules. Legally, you have to have 2 readings on an ordinance. not a resolution, but an ordinance. Now, you may have the first reading like it was earlier on the UDO in planning, because you had public input, public meetings. So you already got the first reading when it comes to this group. So all we had to do was the second reading, basically. So when we suspend the rules, that makes it okay for us to have the second reading the same night.
And the suspension of the rules has to be unanimous.
Yes,
That's the key piece of the
Yeah.
puzzle.
thank you. That's right. Everybody hear what she said?
When we
Okay.
vote to suspend the rules, it has to be unanimous. We all have to agree that we want to fast track it through. If any of us say no, then we have to delay until the next meeting.
Thank you.
What is the purpose of the second reading?
So you don't,
If you suspend the rules, is the second reading to allow public input between the readings?
normally, yes. Like on the UDO, the one that we've done the same thing to. I'm like, it's not set in stone, but it's been through planning.
Yeah.
or
So you
something
have to
about planning.
finalize it.
On this, Joe, it's one, they're in a timeline that they're behind on this particular, one, okay? There's no sense on a lot of our ordinances to hold them for one more month and for the second reading. Because it accomplishes nothing other than it delays everything by 30 days. So if,
But it would allow for public input.
yeah,
Yeah, if
Sure,
you wanted
yes.
to speak right now, yeah, you could easily stand up and speak for or against, yeah.
On housekeeping things like this, a lot of times we suspend the rules just to get it done. And like in the interest of the fire department possibly receiving funds, like we need to have this fund created, so that, like the time is of the essence on this one.
I've been to a lot of these lately, and suspending the rules seems like the norm more so than an exception.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it's there for a reason for second reading, so you can allow for 30 days of public input. But when you suspend the rules, you're doing it.
What else can I comment? State law, they do 3 readings in one day. So those tend to be a lot serious matter than I understand that. So it would bring the town to a screeching halt if a lot of this what's the term? Housekeeping things, we had to wait. That's why you have a rule that has to be unanimous. Because if one of them thought that there may be an issue in time, there needs to be time to digest the issue by the public or town council members.
This guy mentioned this kind of a housekeeping type ordinance. It's not something that really impacts the public per se. It's a matter of just again housekeeping, for lack of better words. If you had an ordinance that did impact the public in some way, whatever it might be, then yeah, you want that 30-day delay. Introduce one meeting, a meeting like tonight, for example, and then think, well, we need some opportunity to think about this, weigh in on it, then you would definitely want to wait another month. Sometimes you have the risk, you have to get something done, you might have to set up a special meeting, there's a cost of doing that. And it's just a smoother way of addressing something that's considered a housekeeping type ordinance. Which raises a good point.
It has been used for
Yeah.
non-housekeeping items. Like, I think park board salaries and things of that nature. Last year, they kind of, some of that got them. Whereas I think. public would have to-
On the flip side, when we fix the salary ordinance, we also suspended the rules that night to make it effective immediately also. So it's kind of, it goes back and forth. And you were in both of those meetings, so you could have said at that point, if you wanted input, you could have had it too. So, but I understand what you're saying.
I try to keep quiet.
That's fine. No,
That's fine.
That's fine. Okay, we have can I have a motion for the second reading on ordinance 22-32, non-reverting restricted fund.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Steve and Shane. I have a motion, a second, on order 22-32. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Second reading on ordinance 22-32 is approved. Now we got public comments. Okay,
Ordinance about the two part-time people and.
Putting their,
the current ones that are there. so.
Yeah. They're already, I have a question. What are the court hours for city court or downtown court? Because I get calls all the time, people wanting them, and I tell them to call up here, then they call me back. Saying that nobody ever gets back with them. And I send the people up there, and I know the girls up here don't like it. Because they come in to me with their tickets wanting to know what to do. So I'd like to know what are your hours, if they're being paid per time. They should have some kind of set hours, correct?
Yes.
If not, it's.
we'll have to get with the judge and make sure we have those hours posted and they're there and answer it, because I can't answer. I don't know if anybody up there can answer when the court is here.
I mean, the truck drivers call me that live way out
Yeah.
of state.
Yeah.
And they get a suspension notice in their thing because they didn't pay a ticket out of penalty court, and they called up here and left messages and. I mean, I told some of them, shut up.
Let me talk to the judge. It's a good point, Tony.
I mean, you know.
You make sure that I come back to you, okay?
That
Good
might be
point,
simple,
though.
it's a voice note message that says what time it is.
Any other comments? Right ahead.
I'm sure you guys were hoping I disappeared, but for those who don't know me, my name is Kelly Workman. I'm one of the co-founders of Friends for Paws Animal Rescue here in Pendleton. So for those that do not know, we are the local rescue for Pendleton. Pendleton has not had animal control for roughly 15 years after Anderson changed their animal control operations. The rescue was started by Angie Webster and I, and we started up 11 years ago to assist the town with abandoned dogs when a pregnant pitty was dumped at McDonald's. Not long after we had started, the rescue started receiving calls from the town and our local police department for assistance with animals who were running loose. In the last 11 years, we have assisted our town and our local police department with dogs who were killed on the interstate when their owners were in a car accident. We retrieved the dogs, took them to Luce's funeral home so that the owners could pick them up when they were out of the hospital. We have been on animal neglect cases. Recently, we have been housing dogs whose owners have found themselves going to jail. So the police department has been calling me, either bringing the dogs to me or I go pick them up. We do this out of our own homes and foster homes, as we currently still do not have a facility. We became a 501c3 in 2012 so that we could raise funds for the rescue. Our rescue has done this again for 11 years. We are not contracted with the town. We do not get payments from the town. This is strictly volunteer and has been. Angie and I have recently been talking about stepping away from the rescue as it is a lot of work. But recently we decided it is time to actually start expanding. We feel that we are still needed by the animals in our community. We recently have gone from a 3-member board to a 7-member board. We are wanting to work with the town on what the future looks like with the rescue. We are looking at trying to find a building to help house our animals and a possible contract to help cover the cost of vetting the animals in our care. Our community has grown considerably since we started 11 years ago. And the more housing additions that you bring in are also bringing in multiple animals into most of those homes. If an animal is taken to APL from outside of the city limits of Anderson, it is a $30 fee, causing more animals to be dumped. It costs us roughly anywhere from $250 an animal to $500, if not more, an animal. This takes a lot of fundraising and a considerable amount of donations to cover the vet fees. Since January of 2022, we have spent $3,414.42 in vet bills on animals in our care. And that is with the discount through the vet clinic. Last year, we roughly had 30 TNR cats, 10 animal pickups, dogs and cats that were owned or just dumped. This year, we have had 2 dogs whose owners were arrested and the police department had called, and I housed them until their owners got out of jail. One took 2 weeks. The second time she went to jail, it took 3 weeks to come out of the jail. So that's all that time we are housing this dog that we can't get adopted out. We had 1 cat at Tractor Supply Distribution who had actually been missing for 8 months. That was probably the most exciting call I ever gave to an owner because it was a friend of mine. We've had 6 kittens just recently picked up. Pendleton Police called us on 1 dog who had been injured. Later, we had to be euthanized, had been hit by a train. 6 dogs, 2 were dumped at the park. Alone, those dogs right there cost us $700 almost between vaccines, microchipping, all the other vetting. We also got called by the Pendleton Police Department for 2 dogs running loose, and 1 had bit a child. So we had to contain them. Luckily, I knew who they belonged to. Right now, at this time, we still have a hospice dog who will continue in our rescue until her final days. So we have come here tonight to let you know that we are still here. We are wanting to continue, but we are going to need to expand and need the town's help. It honestly takes a village. So just, I mean, any help that you guys can give. I mean, within the next year, we would like to try and get a building. We would like to try and get more established, so that we don't have to work as hard to raise money. These are kind of graphic. This is some of the calls that we have been on. There are no dead animals. Thanks for the warning. But if you do have any questions, the bird call was a call that the police department had called us on. There was a raccoon. There's a picture of the raccoon. We had to remove him from the house, and worked with DNR, got it to a rescue. But there were 40 some birds. We got them into another rescue. I don't do birds. Anyone have any questions?
Kelly, do you have a recommendation for us? You've been doing this for a long time. We appreciate the good work you do, and I know the police do as well. But do you have a recommendation for us to think about?
We would like to look at getting a contract. And that would, something that was brought up was my safety. Mark came to me, officers were a little worried because I've been going onto the interstate. My call. I do go out there, but contract will help protect everybody. Working on getting a building. I know it's been thrown around that nobody wants a rescue building here in Pendleton, but this is the reality, especially with all the new homes coming in. If we're not here, you're gonna have an out of control population of wildcats, dogs running loose. Just a way for us to house the dogs, somewhere that I can get that set up.
Okay. You mentioned the city of Anderson. Does the you said something, I missed it, the county, Madison County, do they have, what are they doing?
Madison County, they have an animal control officer through the sheriff's department. She only picks up aggressive dogs. Anderson has the Animal Protection League. They have contracted with a couple of the towns. They do not come and pick up animals. They do not send out an animal control officer here. So they would have to transport animals to Anderson. 4th of July, Captain Trailer called me. Dog had been hit on the interstate. He would have had to stay there. Luckily, we found the owner. I got there before the owner. I would have rushed it to the emergency vet, but owner did. But within the next year, we do want to look at finding somewhere in town for a building and possibly getting a contract. Do you have anything?
Yeah. So me being an old timer, I remember 11 years ago, and I'm amazed that it's taken this long for her to come back and get it done. Crazy then, and I still think it's crazy then. But I also love it. So that said, back in the day, we contracted with Anderson City. Part of that contract was they came down here and actually patrolled with their dog pickup truck. We got a 1-day patrol. We also got to call them whenever we had an animal, they would come down and pick it up and take it away. Anderson decided they were no longer going to do that, so we left us without anything. And Kelly didn't just the one big thing that's hard on our guys is when we do make an arrest, and it seems like it's becoming more and more people with living in their cars with all their animals, and we have to take them to jail, and then we're sitting here with a dog. They can't be inhumane by just having it loose, or usually there's no family because they're from out of state and living in these cars. It's happening more and more. So somehow, if Kelly and Angie are still wanting to do this program, there's got to be some way that we as a community facilitate that. Maybe she needs to become a South Madison dog territory. And she can make some money. And while we're on that topic real quick, Tim Green did ask me to be the chief of Bengals and Hamilton. So if there's a police territory thing available, I'm in for that too. But we need to do something, find something somewhere. I don't know. And I don't know if contracting with Ingalls, Marpleville, South Madison animal, because then you'd be able to expand your people or something like that. It would help financially. But where it would be, I don't know.
Out on 132.
132, hey, if it pays well. Right, Sam?
It's over.
So I tell you what I'd like to do, Kelly, we need to give it maybe the other communities, see if they're willing to pay an amount to have animal control, because right now Marpleville doesn't, Ingalls, I think.
Ingalls does not, they call me. Ingalls, Markville, I'll call our rescue.
So.
That's great.
It is an issue.
You get calls from Cal.
Do I,
You get calls from Cal.
LaPel used to call us. They're too far for me to drive if I'm not, and I hate to say it, but if I'm not able to, because I mean, I work a 40-hour job right now. Here in town, I can, on my lunch hour, I can go grab a dog if I have to. On the 4th of July, I actually went into work late and helped with that dog, but I'm not against, because Ingalls needs help, Markville needs help. I mean, it's everywhere. Any other questions?
If you don't mind, Kelly and I'll get together.
And Captain Trailer is actually on our board now, so We kind of stuck him on there.
Good step. Any other public input?
One last thing from up here.
Yeah.
Can we make sure that the town calendar on the website is up to date, as well as if we're going to do Facebook notifications for events, make sure that they're consistent? Because this week, the Zoom link was never published for this meeting. And there was never a Facebook event created from like the town of Pendleton Facebook page for this. And like, I'm in the know, like obviously, but I had to text Scott yesterday and say, is stormwater meeting, is utility rate meeting, because it only showed that Waterworks was canceled. And so those are reoccurring meetings that don't meet all the time, but we just need to make sure. I mean, I got on the park board this last week about not publicizing their meeting properly. And if we're gonna start blowing the whistle on other people, we've got to make sure that our stuff is organized also. And so just a little heads up that we need to make sure that those are posted online.
Who's responsible? Scott's
Scott's not here, I know.
So I'm gonna throw it at you. Hannah. Who's responsible for updating the Facebook information and the town website?
Don't you usually just have it down to Steph? Yeah, Stephanie.
I didn't hear you.
Stephanie. Wow.
Okay.
And then
We just need,
Solutions for
Marissa's absolutely right, okay?
Yeah.
I made a call today to handle. Got a call, wanted to know why something wasn't on the agenda. And I didn't know. Okay, so, anyway, let's make sure. If you need help from me, let me know. Okay, Scott, okay, good point, Marissa. Anything else? Not meeting adjourned.